BioShock 4 Isolation is an upcoming first-person shooter that is being developed by Cloud Chamber and published by 2K. It's no secret that a new BioShock title would be coming at some point. The last entry in the series, BioShock Infinite, was released in 2013, so it's been almost a decade since we have heard about a new BioShock. Let's break down the leaked documents, the new rumored location, and more. As always, all the sources will be linked in the description below, so make sure to check those out and support those original writers. And with that out of the way, let's get into everything we know about BioShock 4 Isolation. Before I get into the rumors and leaks, I need to make a disclaimer once again that this video contains alleged insider information and rumors. There's no real way to prove or disprove any of this information, so it comes down to whether or not you believe this type of news. Take it all and decide with your own discretion. Also, I've already made 2 videos covering everything we know about BioShock 4. I recommend watching both of those videos to get a good understanding of the title before moving on to this video, and all the links will be posted in the description below. Let's finally move on to the rumors, which come from a new insider account on Twitter that has gathered a lot of attention in the gaming world, posting leaks focusing on BioShock 4. The first series of tweets were posted in November of 2021. The first tweet says the game started in 2019, and the pandemic did change the workload, so the studio did outsource some of the work. Once Hangar 13's project was cancelled, some of the employees were shifted to work on BioShock 4, and the game will still be in development for a few more years. So far, none of this is technically real leaked information, and most of this could be educated guesses. Another tweet was made one day later with additional information, which stated the game will feature a large open world, a linear main story, and will feature side quests. The game will have almost no backtracking and will have an innovative sandbox combat system, a faction system, immersive sound effects, and a living game world that will change throughout the game. Finally, they state that the new BioShock game is not a PS5 exclusive. And once again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but this information is not exclusive, and a lot of this information could be gathered from job listings. The big information was released around this time as well. This time, the insider posted the name BioShock Isolation and says the title may change, but included an alleged logo variant. The game is said to be set in an environment new to the franchise and will be an isolated dystopian city. The game is being developed using Unreal Engine 5, and the game is set to be announced in Q1 of 2022, which means the game will be announced sometime in January through March of 2022. I will also include the image of the BioShock Isolation logo, and we can see the logo says Variation 2, and it also says property of Take-Two Interactive at the bottom. This is some real information that no one had covered up to this point, and this is the post that made the account start to gather attention. A set of follow-up tweets was made, which said that the leaked logo was a logo that was created in 2019, and it's likely the logo won't reflect the final look and title. They clarify further and say the game has been in pre-production since 2017, but the development was scrapped and rebooted at some point since then. 2K is allegedly also concerned about the quality of the game, especially since the cancellation of Hangar 13's project. And the final information from this series of tweets says the studio has already hired video editors to create a reveal trailer, which they hope will give the team solid feedback from fans of the series. The leaks continue on in November when the same insider posted a slide from a presentation that was allegedly used by Cloud Chamber to pitch the new BioShock title. The pitch says there are 2 cities. City 1 is a free and wealthy society led by a successful entrepreneur. There is a flip side zone, which is the border between the 2 cities, and then there is City 2, which is an isolated underground city separated from the upper world, led by a dictator waging a vertical war. The two cities are visualized using the bird and the cage from BioShock Infinite, and these two cities will be directly connected and one will be on top of the other. This idea is very interesting regardless of whether or not it is true, and the idea of dual cities could fit the BioShock world very well. Another slide was posted from this same pitch. The team included projects they are using as inspiration for the next BioShock title, which includes The City and the City, Citizen Kane, We, and Shantaram. I'm not going to spend time here covering how each of these could relate to BioShock 4, but here's the list for you to look up on Wikipedia yourself and learn. Now, I will quickly touch on There's Always a Lighthouse website, which was brought back into the public attention in November of last year, which some fans thought was an ARG and possibly teasing this new BioShock title. Unfortunately, this website was rumored to be an ARG that was at one point planned for the BioShock DLC Minerva's Den. There was a set of punch cards in the remastered version of the game, which gives fans the website. For whatever reason, the punch cards were never utilized, and it looks like the website has been active since 2016, but was never updated by the team. It's unlikely this website is being used to tease the next BioShock game, regardless of if the team continues to renew the IP address. The next big leak comes from the Sacred Symbols podcast, which is another source I have mentioned a few times on this channel already, and they are very transparent with their sources and which information they trust and report on. They say they have 3 different sources about the game, all with similar takes on what this next BioShock game is. The first source reached out to the podcast and provided enough real information that the team decided to cover it. The first source says the game will take place in a 1960s Arctic city called Borealis, and the project is codenamed Parkside, and it is interconnected with the previous games. The team then reached out to additional sources to see if they could get sources to verify these claims. The second source said the information they have is from before the game was rebooted, and they only knew about the setting prior to the Antarctic city. And the final source said they had found completely new information. They claim the new BioShock game is called BioShock Immortal and was initially planned for a Game Awards reveal, but was moved, and now we could potentially see the game at E3 unless that event is canceled as well. The source confirms once again that the game's setting will be in a snowy environment, but didn't mention Borealis. This information was almost immediately backed up from the Video Games Chronicle. They reached out to their own sources and updated their article to say that BioShock is taking place in the 1960s in a fictional Antarctic city, and it matches up with what their sources are reporting. And this does seem to be the time period and place that we can expect the next BioShock game in. And it seems like those pitches that we saw earlier that I covered were actually from the game before it was rebooted. And the final story I want to cover comes from an interview between YouTuber MrMattyPlays and the host of the Sacred Symbols podcast, Colin Moriarty. They discuss the new BioShock title, and some additional details are released. Colin starts by saying that before the game was rebooted, he heard the game was going to be set in a volcano. And there's no additional details, but that is what he heard. Moving on to the rebooted version of the game, he says at least part of the game will take place before the city is destroyed and overrun. He describes the feel as similar to BioShock Infinite's Burial at Sea DLC, where it takes place before the fall of Rapture. He also says, not connected to any sources, but just from fan speculation, that the game could have a bigger connection to Rapture than Columbia. And he discusses how he thinks this could play out as well. And finally, he says he still expects the game to be announced sometime in 2022 and to be released in 2022 as well, which would be a very quick turnaround, but could be possible if the team is trying to keep the project under wraps for as long as possible. The original Insider Twitter account still says they expect the game to be announced in Q1 of 2022, but won't release until 2023, so not every source is in agreement about this release timeline. And that covers all of the leaks and information. It sounds like that we know for certain the time frame and the setting for this game. It also sounds like the game will at least be announced in 2022 unless something goes wrong, and we will see the game release sometime in the next year or two. I know there is a lot of excitement about this title, and we don't have too much longer to wait. And that's where I'm going to end this video. Make sure to like and share, subscribe for weekly gaming news, and I will see you guys in the next one.